On Saturday, thousands of Trump supporters gathered in Washington, D.C. for the Million MAGA March, which didn't turn out to be all that, all that well populated, I should say. There was not a million people there. We can be sure of that. In fact, here's just one of the pictures that we have. Okay, so that's a few thousand. As you can see, they're not exactly backed up to the road. That would barely fill part of a stadium. Okay, so the Million MAGA March, not so much. But that said, it's not as if it's completely empty, or nobody there, not sad or anything like that. But it's still kind of sad. And so those people, of course, that showed up were there to protest on behalf of the outgoing president. A lot of them were the, QAnon people. They're saying, stop the steal, stop the steal. What steal? You're trying to steal the election. Donald Trump's trying to steal the election by not conceding after he lost the election fair and square. But okay, whatever. Given the irony of the whole stop the steal thing, whatever. All right, we know that already. But anyway, now I wish I could leave it there and be like, haha, ridiculous, because it is. No, it didn't take long for things to get stupid. Stupider. Starting with White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany, who tweeted photos of the gathering. And I'm going to show you one of them to, be fair. Okay, so here is one of the images that she tweeted out. Okay, that view, that's from Fox News. And she tweeted this saying that more than 1 million Trump supporters were in attendance, despite, again, the photos showing not really, you can't even really tell in context how many people there are. Again, there's probably a few thousand in that picture, but it's not really something that you can pull out and do a panoramic of and be like, oh, wow, it really is 1 million people. No, that's what she tweeted out. And she said, amazing. More than 1 million marchers for President Donald Trump descend on the swamp in support. Best base in political history. We love you guys. We love you. We especially love when you give us money. The same. But that's not 1 million people. Not 1 million people. Now, let me show you one of the larger marches that have happened within this last 4 years. Okay. Let me show you from the 2017 Women's March. So just to give you a little bit of comparison, all right, of what we're looking at. And this is not even going to be 1 million people. But that's from the Women's March. Now you can see people all the way backed up. This is a much, much wider, much higher shot. You can see many, many more people. Again, this was the Women's March in 2017 to protest against Donald Trump. So now, again, not 1 million people. In Washington, D.C. alone, the Women's March actually drew over 470,000 people. And if you count worldwide, 7 million. Now, as far as I know, there was no worldwide MAGA March. That is strictly, well, why would somebody in France want to make America great again? Why would they do that? It makes sense, but they wouldn't. So obviously, there is no worldwide MAGA March to support President Donald Trump. So, but as far as a Women's March to protest against Donald Trump, turns out the world doesn't exactly like him either. Who knew, right? Who knew? And so the total count estimated for the Trump MAGA March, Million MAGA, around 12,000. So 12,000. I know streamers that get more than 12,000 people watching. I'm saying, I wish I was one of them. I'm not. Sad. But I know streamers that regularly hit over 12,000 live viewers. And yet, Donald Trump can only bring about 12,000 people out to his rally, 10 to 12,000. roughly around that number. Not super impressive. I'm just saying. Now, I mean, again, a few thousand, a million, whatever. MAGA math. It turns out to be a lot of people. Tremendous turnout. Okay. Now, some people were reminded, by the way, of the first time that this happened, that they used MAGA math and alternative facts to talk about the crowd sizes. In fact, here's Sawyer Hackett, senior advisor to former Obama cabinet member and presidential candidate Julian Castro. He said, quote, "Big Sean Spicer energy here. 1 million people. 1 million. Journalist Max Burns also tweeted, "The inability to tell the difference between 1,000 MAGA march and 1 million MAGA march is another reason Trump lost the counts in Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Arizona, Nevada, and Wisconsin." That's a burn. That's a good one. And by the way, here's another one. Jesse Hawken, the writer, said, "This is nowhere near 1 million people, Kaylee. More Americans have died of COVID than are assembled here." And speaking, of course, of COVID, a lot of these people did not wear masks. I'm just saying. During, of course, the biggest COVID spike yet. A couple more tweets here. Brad Betts says, "Law enforcement needs to make sure to bring up the riot gear and tear gas they like to use in the BLM protesters. Stay consistent." Oh, yes, that'll definitely happen. Frederick Joseph says, "When we peacefully protested en masse to support Black Lives Matter, we were met with rubber bullets and tear gas." Of course, these guys, obviously not. Meanwhile, hundreds of thousands of unmasked people are taken to the streets in the name of white supremacy, being guarded by police. That's a great point. Speaking of that, there was violence at this demonstration. In fact, there were a lot of demonstrators that were members of Proud Boys and QAnon that showed up. They faced off against counter protesters. There were some fights. I'm seeing either 1 to 3 people that were stabbed. Again, we don't necessarily know if it was 3 people, but definitely 1 person was stabbed, according to the Metropolitan Police Department. And according to Vice, there were small outbreaks of violence between Trump supporters and non-Trump supporters and protesters. For example, counter-protesters heckled Trump supporters attempting to turn in for the night, leading to police standoffs. Of course, women in Trump hats were seen tearing down Black Lives Matter signs from buildings. You had people getting stabbed, Proud Boys. In fact, D.C. police confirmed at least 1 stabbing that took place around 8 p.m., and that the victim was taken to the hospital for non-life-threatening injuries. That's good. That nobody died. Separately, an independent journalist, Talia Jane, said she was stabbed in the ear by a Proud Boy. So that's what's going on here. And then those same Proud Boys, by the way, they got a very warm reception for the crowd because, again, like, Trump can say, "Oh, I don't know who the Proud Boys are. The Proud Boys stand down and stand by." Well, his followers know who they are. They love the Proud Boys. They love them. They were cheered as they walked by. So, and again, some of them shouted, "Proud Boys, stand back and stand by." And of course, members of them, that group, spent most of their night drinking at a popular bar for police officers, likely with police officers. I don't know about the last part, but I mean, to say that white supremacists and police officers don't tend to work together in a lot of situations where they're both facing off against BLM protesters, come on. You know they absolutely are. And so they would drink at Harry's Bar and then make their way towards counter-protesters at BLM Plaza near the White House. According to D.C. Police, overall, about 21 people were arrested. 4 of them were for gun violations, according to the Washington Post. So this entire MAGA rally is essentially what it is. Okay. And by the way, what's funny about this is that Donald Trump was barely even there. He drove by on his way to go golfing. Hilarious. He don't even care. He doesn't even care. He's just going to go and golf. That's what he does. But The entire thing is a representation of Donald Trump's support. You have a militant minority of the country who espouses racism and conspiracy theories. Again, the whole theme of this entire thing is Donald Trump didn't lose the election. The Democrats are stealing it from us, and we're here to protest that. Well, again, that's probably why only 12,000 people or 10 to 12,000 people showed up. That's it. And look, as I've said before, you don't have to be an out-and-out racist to support Donald Trump. No. But by supporting Trump, you basically admit that racism is not the deal breaker. Like, it doesn't matter to you. You admit that whatever personal benefit that you get from supporting President Trump or a Trump presidency or Trump administration is worth ignoring the rampant racism, misogyny, and hate that this administration has for anybody who is non-white, not straight, non-Christian, and non-conservative. And if you actually take those people out, who are not the out-and-out open racism or racists, but those who don't really care and see just like a benefit, like, oh, you cut my taxes. Well, this is what you have left. These are the hardcore supporters, the white nationalists, cult members, and conspiracy theorists. So that's what we're looking at here. The cream of the crop, or crap. Worst of the worst. MAGA. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.